up, Long Beach? Welcome back to your home for everything local sports. This is Long Beach Sports Talk, presented by the Gazette newspapers and the Press Telegram, brought to you by Naples Rib Company, and featuring three men and a baby who've got rings and plaques on the mind. I am co-sports editor JJ Fiddler. To my left,
co-sports editor Mike Gardabasio, holding Vincent the sports baby Gardabasio, and to our left,
Tyler Hendrickson. I play this so loud in my car I forget to park my whip. And JJ, it is championship week. I can't tell you how excited I am. I always love when they get to hold plaques,
it's the best.
Order rings.
It's the best.
It's Justin's week.
I think we said it last year as well. Like, I'd pay you to let me go cover championship games. Because the drama, the emotion, the journey that both teams have gone on, and then you get the joy from one side and just the agony from the other.
And I would accept that money from you. I would. I would accept the money.
Now, there's a few championship games going on this weekend. You can't be at them all, but we will be, and we'll have the updates. Where?
That's right, on Twitter. The activity has already been very poppin' throughout the playoffs. At PT Gazette Sports on Twitter. Got a couple lovely mugs in the Avi, and the updates coming from all over the place. I mean, Brea, Mission Viejo, Long Beach, wherever. I mean, we're out here.
It is championship week. We're going to tell you how we got here and what to look forward to over the weekend.
we were so close to an all-Moore League Division I AA Boys Basketball CIF Championship, but alas, it was not to be as Milliken fell on the road to Mission Viejo. Long Beach Poly, however, topped Inglewood by a single point in a home semifinal game to get to the Jackrabbits' third CIF championship in the 1AA bracket in 4 years, which is pretty good.
If they were playing horseshoes or hand grenades, we'd have Milliken Poly on Saturday.
I would, JJ, funny fact, the hand grenade toss used to be a CIF championship event in track and field.
That is true.
Thanks, John Dalem.
That's alley-oop for you right there, buddy.
Lobs to the team.
I don't know what to tell you, but in any event, yes, Poly pulled out an ugly game, played great defense, obviously, only giving up 47 points to an Inglewood team that included like a 7-0 run at the end of that game. They were up 47-37 with about a minute and a half left. And the Sentinels were able to push it to make it kind of a close game, but as we like to say, really only changing the outcome for the odds makers because Poly had it in hand. And I have to say, one of the unlikeliest championship appearances I can remember us ever covering. The interim head coach Shelton Diggs pointed out, I mean, if you'd have done a coaches poll, people wouldn't even have thought we were going to win league this year, and now we're playing for a Division I AA championship. It's pretty crazy.
Well, it wasn't unlikely once the playoffs started because they were the 1 seed.
Right.
But it's worth noting that at the beginning of the year, we didn't, when we were doing our basketball preview, we weren't like, okay, well, we expect Poly to be playing for a championship.
No.
I mean, just being honest, I mean, they had to replace a lot. They were in a transitionary phase, and we thought, as did the Jackrabbits right before the brackets came out, that they were going to be in the open division, which would have been a very difficult road.
Right.
But instead, they found a very nice, sweet spot as the top seed of the 1AA bracket. They had a Supermex-sized chip on their shoulder.
Right.
And they've really used that to now get, one game away from winning it, and they are the favorites as the top seed. But that's a great point. People weren't sure if they were the best in the league, and now they might be the best in their division.
I wouldn't even say people weren't sure. I mean, I had one of the coaches I did a preview for flat out tell me it's going to be crazy when the 5-time defending league champion finishes third this year.
I put in my lead, everybody celebrates when the bully gets punched in the nose.
Right?
Because that was what we all felt.
Yeah, well, that's certainly what it seemed like the mood of the coaches was. So for them to be in a championship, very cool. Worth noting, I mean, there's basically 2 seniors that get a lot of run on this team. This is a team with a lot of guys coming back. It's going to be an exciting couple of years, I think, at Poly.
Well, it may be unexpected, but the way in which they got to the championship was as Poly as anything else. And Mike, you put it in your lead of the article. Defense wins championships. And yet again, the green and gold machine just locked down defensively, specifically at home in that Inglewood game, to carry themselves to the championship. They're not scoring 80 points and going to the ship.
No, if they were scoring 80 points, I think you'd feel that they were probably winning.
If they were scoring 80 points, they'd be in the open.
Right, you're absolutely right. I mean, the leading scorer for Inglewood had 9 points, and this is a run-and-gun team that has put up a great offensive rebounding team that's put up huge numbers so far this playoffs. And Poly basically just completely locked them down.
And the Jackrabbits won by a set of ears as they poked in front because they just love to win these close games. As we talked about in the highlight, they've played 11 games that have been decided by one possession, including a lot of 1-point games. and they did it again. They won by a single point. But Poly's 7-4 in those games. They're battle-tested. They've played close games, and they've come through in the clutch. And they might have to do that again when they take on Mission Viejo in the championship.
Can we drop a PSA real quick? At the end of that game, very close, Inglewood hits a 3. There is less than 5 seconds on the clock. Just so that everybody knows, going forward, the clock does not stop in high school basketball. When you watch an NBA game and a guy makes a shot, clock stopped. That's why you see high school basketball coaches taking timeouts immediately following made buckets, so that clock stops.
Inglewood did not have any timeouts because they'd been having trouble inbounding the ball and stuff in the fourth quarter, and so you're absolutely right. Poly made the heads-up play, did not attempt to inbound the ball, and as a result, clock ran out. They win the game.
So smart by the Jackrabbits, because you could tell those kids knew what the deal was. Because one team didn't know, one team knew, and the latter won the game.
This is never something we put in an article, but it's the kind of thing that the three of us talk about, so I figured since we're talking, we might talk about it right now. I'd just like to check in with Sharif Matoyer from seeing his Twitter feed and point out that, a lot of people have said, what's this like for Sharif Matoyer? He's been the coach of this team for 13 years. Is he trying to hide behind the bleachers and peek out? He's not allowed to be at the games. What's he doing? And he tweeted at us, he'll be looking forward to the tweets while enjoying a, quote, giant snifter of cognac neat at home. And I think he probably enjoyed seeing the tweet that Poly is indeed going back to the championship.
The doctor. But Poly's not the only team playing for a championship on Saturday, as the Milliken girls team went on the road yet again and beat Brea Olinda, the perennial powerhouse Lady Cats in Brea. So the Lady Rams advancing to the championship game. They are going to take on the top-seeded Bonita on Saturday at noon at Azusa Pacific. And these Rams, sort of in a little bit of a similar situation as Poly, they stayed out of the Open, and so now, they have an opportunity to make a real good run at a championship.
Well, they're avoiding the Open, is what's happening.
They're not moping right now. Lorraine Morgan is quite pleased with where her team is at. Poly was expecting to be in the Open, and Milliken was never really on that watch list. They kind of hung the whole year just below that. So the Rams made title game in 2008, lost to Poly. But now another clear opportunity to win a title here for Lorraine Morgan. And it's a team that wasn't necessarily expected to make it to this point. They had to replace a lot of talent, and they have a lot of young players contributing. But they've gotten it done, and they've come through in crunch time, and there's no reason they can't be raising a plaque on Saturday.
Yeah, that game is at Azusa Pacific on Saturday at noon. The Poly boys game against Mission Viejo is going to be at Honda Center at 2 o'clock. That Mission Viejo team you can kind of scout, because that's the team that beat Milliken to keep us away from the All-Moore League final. That game, very exciting in the fourth quarter. Unfortunately, the Rams got started slowly, and it bit them. The Diablos look like a formidable opponent, but you can see for yourself what they're all about. Shout out to Splash Zone and Ram Nation all around for the support of that boys basketball team throughout this season. They have been incredible. A student section unlike any other that we've seen in the time that we've been working in this city. But their season might not be over. There's confusion about who's actually qualified for the CIF state bracket. Now, we were under the impression that by reaching the semifinal in Division 1 AA, that earned you an automatic bid into one of the brackets for the state tournament that starts the week following the championships for the section titles.
As has been the case in the past.
As has been the case since they started doing this state bracket. Now with the Open Division introduced, there's questions as to whether or not reaching the semifinal in the top bracket not named Open, Division 1 AA, if that semifinal berth does get you into the state berth automatically. We don't know. Milliken is definitely available for that spot, but it is not an automatic bid. We apologize for having that in a few articles over the last week. We thought that it was the same way it's always been, but because of the Open Division, yet again, something in the high school basketball landscape has changed.
The times they are a-changing, to be sure, so we'll just have to wait and see for those state brackets to come out.
They'll be out on Sunday after the Saturday championship games. We'll have those up the second that they're posted, obviously, if you want to make sure you're following the Twitter at PT Gazette Sports.
But if you don't want to wait for the weekend for championships, you ain't gotta. Because Rancho Dominguez Prep, the young pup in the LBC, is playing for an LA City Section Championship tonight on Thursday in downtown LA at Roybal Learning Center, as they're taking on Laces, trying to take down the Unicorns. I did not say that incorrectly. They're playing the Unicorns.
I thought they were the Dragons. Are they not the Centaurs?
No, it's another
Could they be
difficult beast.
Loch Ness? Is it possible?
The elves of Laces. No, it's
The
actually,
Laces Wendigos.
it's actually the unicorns. And
The Laces Medusae.
are we done?
I could go on for quite some time.
Hey, speaking
but
of
needless to
student
say-
sections, hold on. Speaking of student sections, if RDP has a student section, how solid would it be if they all showed up in those new unicorn prosthetic head helmet masks?
Oh, you mean to psych out the? Well,
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, what's the chant of the Laces student section? Go Corns?
Ooh, that's tough.
Ooh, that's tough.
There's only one? No, there isn't.
We are real. Believe us. I don't know. But head coach Jonathan Chaney, better known as Spoon to everyone in the community, is leading the Lobos, who are in their second season of competing, and they're ready to win this Division IV championship. They are the top seed, and watch out for the Lobos. They are the favorites in that game Thursday night, and obviously we will have coverage to see if they can bring that championship to the LBC.
If Moore League soccer isn't feast or famine, I don't know what that saying means. We have had 2 CIF championships for Moore League soccer in the last 5 years. The other 3 years, unceremonious exits from the playoffs, to say the least.
Yeah, the other 3 years, basically, we've nary made it to a quarterfinal. We're either going all the way or not.
We should
getting
look
on the
that up. I
bus.
bet you we haven't made a quarterfinal. Long Beach hasn't made a
there was
quarterfinal
one.
if you don't win the championship.
Yeah, it's essentially, if we're getting on the bus, we're going all the way and
Right.
bringing a ring home for sure.
It's all or nothing.
It is definitely feast or famine, all or nothing, rain or drought.
It's tough, and it's gotten to the
going.
point where you feel like the things are working against you. Case in point, Poly girls go to Westlake last week, and there's an offsides call on what would have been an equalizing goal. That is so much of a head scratcher.
What should have been an equalizer.
Thank you.
No, it's more than a head scratcher. It's a lobotomy.
It's tough, dude. I mean, it's tough because the call.
It's a Wolverine head scratcher.
If you look at the film,
claws out.
If you look at the film, Tavia Leachman is onside the entire time. She's the one who eventually scores the goal.
The state of California is onside, JJ.
And if you look at the film, it's just so impossible to see what the referees claim that they saw. Now, obviously, you feel spurned. You feel like, oh, we missed the game we should have seen. In my head, for the rest of my life, they'll forever be playing overtime, tied 1-1 in that game. At the same time, I guess after the dust settled, I don't know, man. Baseball's bringing in instant replay. Football games aren't without 5 delays so that you can watch a guy's knee 5 different angles. The sports world today is so inch by inch that it's almost refreshing that I cover a level of sport, the last bastion of human error. Because baseball's the ultimate human error sport. What does Chase DeYoung always say, friend of the show? It's a strike. Why? Because the umpire said so.
Right.
It's like
they don't change. A human being isn't deciding whether or not you made the field goal unless it goes right over the top
Right.
or something. I mean, there's set boundaries in other sports that in baseball that's not the case.
right. And now baseball with the instant replay, I feel like high school is like, well, we're the last place without instant replay.
Right. Well, and I mean, you and I have had a lot of conversations about this. I personally am all for let's put 4,000 cameras in a stadium and make sure that we always know. I mean, let's put a laser in the ball. And we'll know when it breaks the
Not about it.
we'll know when it breaks the goal line. And I know you're more of a fan of the human error. But the best argument I've seen for the human error was actually someone on the Long Beach State message board complaining about the NCAA review thing, and which legitimately is really slowing some of these college games down.
Yeah.
And his basic point was how arrogant that sports has to feel like it's so important that all of these little calls get made right, that we need to ruin the enjoyment, which is what they're there for. They were not created to be this big money machine with the importance of these championships. The sports were, I mean, basketball was created to give kids something to do in PE during the rain. You know what I mean? So, I sort of took that point. It's a little bit overwrought. I mean, you look at NFL and it's so ceremonious, you know, the ruling on all of these scoring plays and stuff like that. It's like, I mean, to some extent, it should still just be football, but that doesn't change the fact that me personally, I still want to know that it's as right as it can possibly
A little
be.
bit, yeah, but the other thing about it is there's so much money involved that that's where you get tricky. But that's the thing about high school sports.
And lives at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, with how crazy American sports fans are getting.
No doubt. And then, but at high school, I mean, there is money at stake when you look at coaches' salaries and things like that, but nobody's betting on the games. It can live under the, that sort of realm a little bit and just sort of be a little more pure, even though we're going to have these horrible gaffes. And so we get the benefit of video replay because we actually do highlights and stuff. And, fans and coaches want to see the replay to know. Obviously, that can't change a game. But, sometimes the margins are that thin. We've seen it before. We've seen 3-pointers that should have been 2-pointers in a 1-point game. We've seen kids step out of bounds and all that kind of stuff. But, I think you're right, JJ. It just reminds you that this is still pure amateur athletics, even though there's so much money flowing into it from all areas.
Some of the most impressive things I've ever seen from high school athletes are the things they do after a bad call. I don't want to not see that anymore.
It's true.
This just into the news desk.
How many songs does JJ have in his head?
I don't really know the Channel 5 theme from Family Guy, but if I do, I'd sing it right now.
JJ actually himself, the guy.
Oh, you stumped him on Family Guy. Look at this guy. You should see Tyler's gears turning in his head right now.
JJ
You know what
Fiddler,
really grinds my gears?
JJ Fiddler, the guy singing that song, is actually singing it for himself, broke a very big news story on Wednesday about one of the premier high school coaching positions in the city of Long Beach has been filled. We've been waiting since Tony Martino stepped down at Wilson to find out who would succeed him as the water polo coach of the Bruins, and now we know who it is.
Yeah, and it's another alumni, as they love to do over there at Wilson, hiring alumni. They also love to get people on campus. Jeff Nesmith, alumni of Wilson, 3-time CIF champion at Wilson, 2-time NCAA champion at Stanford, alongside his Wilson/Cardinal teammate, Tony Azevedo. You may have heard of him.
Right. I think it's worth noting. This is like Darryl Rideau coaching the Poly football team.
It really is.
This was the apex of the Wilson water polo program.
Really, it was the start, really.
Right.
They were good, but then when they won that first one, it's just been victory since then.
It was like 8 straight or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. So he's back in Long Beach, born and raised in Long Beach. Like I said, an alum of Wilson, guy who's coached a lot since his playing career ended, spent some time in Hawaii, has coached here stateside at the high school level. He spent last year at Los Alamitos. He is now going to come to Wilson for the 2014 season, and like Mike said, it is one of the most premier head coaching gigs in Long Beach.
It's a Division One. It's a Division One factory. They have
really,
1 or 2 top level guys every single year.
His alignment with Shore Aquatics, it's also a huge move for just the aquatic side of Long Beach, which is a pretty big side.
It feels a little bit like a King Arthur moment. That it's all of these factions that have kind of not necessarily had this strong connection that once they did, perhaps coming together again a little bit. Worth noting, Tony Martino, who Nesmith is succeeding, also started at Los Al and then moved back to Wilson. So it's kind of cool to see that continuity. I mean, that's what keeps these powerhouse programs going, because when your head coach can talk to you about playing with Tony Azevedo at the high school you're at, you've got to listen to that guy, because he's talking about playing in your same pool with the greatest American water polo player of all time.
He'll show you the bronze medal game of the 2008 Olympics and be like, yeah, those are my boys right there.
Right. It's a little bit different than just like, hey, I want you here at 5 a.m. Why? Because I said so.
Yeah,
it's like,
excuse me, not the bronze medal game.
That's when Tony Azevedo, that's when Adam
exactly.
Wright, that's when all these guys that are Olympians, that's when they got here. So that's when you're getting here.
And then they played each other at Wilson, then played against each other in the collegiate level, because most of those guys went to UCLA or Stanford.
Right.
So yeah, it's such a small circle, and it couldn't be better timed with the rebuilding, hopefully very well rebuilding of the Belmont down there in Belmont.
Very Wellmont.
Very Wellmont.
The Wellmont, yeah. No, we're all pretty fired up about this. Nezzy's a great fit there. I think it's going to be a great thing for Wilson, great thing for Long Beach, because you want these programs that have statewide recognition to do well. That's who everyone's looking for.
Not many high school coaching positions get applications from overseas. Wilson Water Polo is one of those. And as 3 guys from Long Beach, couldn't be happier that a Long Beach native got the gig. I can't take credit for this because this isn't a JJ original, but somebody said, and I totally agree, watching Allen Iverson's jersey go to the rafters in Philadelphia was like watching my youth finish
You're old, JJ.
It's like I grew up watching that guy play ball. It was like I could have been Allen Iverson. I felt like when I was a kid, you know. It's like, well, he's small, like he can do it, like all this stuff. And then watching him wear that funny looking Rocky II hat and like talk about dreams coming true, and just the fact that he like literally can't come back and wear 3 right now unless they take it out of the rafters. There was the finality to it. Like Kobe's injured. AI's gone. It's like basketball constantly reminds me that I'm getting older.
More than any other sport, because the eras are so clearly defined. It is clearly the young kids era of LeBron and Kevin Durant right now, and we are officially the old folks sitting around talking about Kobe.
Yeah, but like Kobe and AI, like because AI was that dude for quite some time. You never really got the sense that he was the best player in the NBA for stretches, the way you do about Kobe and Shaq and LeBron and stuff like that. But like he was just always there and so fun to watch, and you just wish he was ever on a better team because he just never really got that shot. And
when he did get that one shot, much like a Jazz v Bulls or something along those lines, he just ended up going against that Lakers team.
Well,
which is like, if any other year you could have won this thing. It's tough. It's real tough.
It was worth it for me for him to not be on a better team, to have him in Philly for that long, because that just was. It was one of those rare athlete city combos that just made so much sense that it was like. It was nice to see the jersey go up in Philly, because that's obviously where you'll just always think of him.
It's like Jeter in New York or something.
Yeah, and I've got no scientific evidence for this fact, but I'd say that if you call yourself a basketball fan, you probably also call yourself an Allen Iverson fan. That's it. That's all. There ain't no more. Another episode of Long Beach Sports Talk in the books. Like we said, it is championship weekend, so bring your A game and follow us on Twitter, PT Gazette Sports. Get all the updates. We failed to mention, and you can watch that on Twitter, actually, is the St. Joseph girls soccer team. It's playing in a championship game at Warren on Saturday at 5 p.m. We'll also have that highlight video, including all of the hoops coverage you could possibly want. It is going to be thick this weekend on the GazetteSports.com and Press Telegram websites.
Covering hoops like Shaq.
For everyone involved in this show and both newspapers and Lang Newspaper Group, thank you for coming to Long Beach and listening to this, and hopefully we're going to see you guys in the stands this weekend. For JJ, for Mike, for Vinny, for Tyler, for everybody else involved in putting together this show and everything else you read on the internet and in print.
Did he say for JJ?
We'll see you guys later.
He did.
He said for himself.
He's always.
Take care.
I don't understand.
Thirdperson.com.
Do you want a frozen banana? No, but I want a regular banana later. So yeah. R.I.P. Mitch Hedberg.
My favorite stand-up comedian came to me.
Over George Carlin.
Wow. George Carlin's not really my shit in the way that for a lot of people he's like their god or whatever.
Chris Rock is our guy. Chris Rock is our generation.
Like Chris Rock, Mitch Hedberg. I like George Carlin, but he's
so
a
you're
little
attributing George Carlin to a generation younger than you?
No, older. You're just an old soul. You're kind of weird.
You don't hear a lot of people your age like repping George Carlin. I like George Carlin. He has bits that I think are funny, but he also has bits kind of like Louis Black, where it's like you're just angry and I'm not as into it.
But
I'll tell you for the last time, Jerry Seinfeld, my favorite stand-up comedian of all time.
Well, that's my favorite special, just because it was like the greatest hits of one of the best comedians. I mean, you can't really beat that. But no, Mitch Hedberg's one of those guys where it's like I would, when you have a favorite band, you'd listen to like this stuff, their demo of the demo. There's not a lot of bands like that. Mitch Hedberg's one of those guys as a comedian where it's like I'd listen to that guy just riffing to someone trying
his
to
live stuff, Strategic Grill Locations, is still on my iPod, and it still hits me on the shuffle like every now and then.
You know, a couple of friends of ours, Miles and Caitlin, actually met and hung out with his widow a couple of weeks ago.
She's super cool.
Because Caitlin's doing stand-up, and I guess Mitch's wife is still relatively active in Southern California, so they went to Ralph's and got a baguette and something to drink together.
That's fantastic.
Can I also give a special shout out to Richard Pryor from my mom and brother's hometown, who also played one of his best shows in Long Beach at Terrace Theater?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, talk about a game changer.
Yeah, the Richard Pryor Terrace Theater show is legendary.
I mean, game changer for real. So,
Richard Pryor is the Bill Walsh of comedy, because you can't find
more aggressive.
But listen, you can't find a successful NFL mind that's offensive right now who's not going to be like, I mean, Bill Walsh, right? Because all the comedians are like Richard Pryor,
trendsetter, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you paved the way for sure.